Evelyn Harper had always been the quiet pillar holding up her family's world, a role she embraced with the kind of Southern grace that came from generations of Georgia women who knew how to endure. At 70, she was a widow living in a modest bungalow in the suburbs of Atlanta, surrounded by magnolia trees that bloomed every spring like a reminder of life's fleeting beauty. Her days were filled with the simple rhythms of retirement, tending to her small garden, baking pecan pies for church potlucks, and most importantly, being there for her daughter, Sarah, and her family. Evelyn had lost her husband, Robert, to a heart attack 15 years ago, and in the void he left, she poured all her love into Sarah, her only child, and her 2 grandchildren, Lily and Jack. Sarah was 45 now, married to Tom, a mid-level executive at a tech firm downtown. They lived in a sprawling McMansion in Buckhead, the kind of house with a 3-car garage and a pool that Evelyn had helped them afford. Over the years, Evelyn had dipped into her savings, modest as they seemed, to fund Sarah's dreams. When Sarah got engaged, Evelyn sold off some old family silver to contribute $30,000 toward the wedding, a lavish affair at a historic plantation house with crystal chandeliers and a live jazz band. "Mom, you didn't have to," Sarah had said, her eyes sparkling with tears of joy. But Evelyn insisted. It was her way of ensuring her daughter had the fairy tale she deserved. Then came the grandchildren. Lily, now 12, and Jack, 10, were enrolled in the best private schools in Atlanta, their tuition quietly covered by Evelyn's monthly checks. "Education is everything," Evelyn would say, echoing her own father's words. Her father, Elias, had been a librarian at the Atlanta Fulton Public Library for 40 years, instilling in her a love for books that bordered on reverence. He passed away when Evelyn was in her 50s, leaving her his prized collection of rare books, first editions of Faulkner, Hemingway, and even a signed copy of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Evelyn had stored them in climate-controlled boxes in her attic, untouched, a secret nest egg she never spoke of. She lived frugally on her widow's pension and Social Security, content to give rather than hoard. But lately, the giving had become one-sided. Sarah's calls grew infrequent, replaced by quick texts asking for just a little help with this or that. Tom, always polite but distant, would nod appreciatively when Evelyn dropped off casseroles or picked up the kids from school. The grandchildren adored her, Lily with her braids and bookish ways, Jack with his endless energy, but even they seemed to sense the shift. Family gatherings felt obligatory, like checking a box on a to-do list. Thanksgiving that year was supposed to be different. Evelyn arrived at Sarah's house early, her arms laden with a homemade sweet potato casserole topped with marshmallows and a pumpkin pie still warm from the oven. The air smelled of roasting turkey and cinnamon, and the table was set with fine china that Evelyn had gifted them years ago. Sarah greeted her at the door with a hug that felt perfunctory. "Mom, you look nice," she said, eyeing Evelyn's floral dress, a thrift store find she'd hemmed herself. Inside, the house buzzed with activity. Tom was carving the turkey, his sleeves rolled up, while Lily and Jack chased each other around the living room. Her heart swelled at the sight. This was what family was about. They sat down to dinner, the table groaning under the weight of dishes. Blessings were said, glasses clinked, and for a moment, everything felt right. But after the meal, as they lingered over coffee and pie, Sarah cleared her throat. "Mom, we have something special for you this year, a little family tradition we're starting." She pulled out a cream-colored envelope from the sideboard, handing it to Evelyn with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Tom chuckled softly, and the kids exchanged excited glances. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a handmade card, adorned with turkey stickers and crayon drawings from the grandkids. "How sweet," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. She began to read aloud, as Sarah insisted. "Dear Grandma Evelyn, on this Thanksgiving, we're grateful for, well, not much these days. You're out of touch, always meddling, and honestly, it's time for you to check into Shady Pines Retirement Community. We've even included the brochure. Love, your family who needs some space. The words hung in the air like a slap. Evelyn's voice faltered on the last line. She looked up, expecting laughter to break the tension, but it did. Cruel, mocking laughter from Tom first, then Sarah joining in. Even the kids giggled, though Lily's eyes darted uncertainly to her grandmother. "Did you see her face?" Sarah wheezed, wiping tears of mirth from her eyes. "Mom, it's just a joke. Lighten up." Tom nodded, still chuckling. "Yeah, Evelyn, we thought it'd be funny. But seriously, we've been talking. You're getting on in years, and that old house of yours is too much. Shady Pines has bingo nights and all that. You'd love it." Evelyn felt the room spin. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, tears pricking at her eyes. She had given them everything, her time, her money, her heart, and this was how they repaid her? A joke that cut to the bone, exposing the truth they'd hidden behind polite smiles. She excused herself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back was tired, wrinkled, but there was a spark in her eyes she hadn't seen in years. That night in her quiet bungalow, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She paced the living room, the card clutched in her hand like evidence in a trial. How had it come to this? She sank into her armchair, the one Robert had loved, and let the memories flood in. It started after Robert's death. Sarah was struggling then, newly married and facing infertility treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. Evelyn had sold her wedding ring. Robert would understand, she told herself, to pay for the IVF that brought Lily into the world. "Mom, you're a miracle worker," Sarah had sobbed, holding her newborn. Jack followed 2 years later, and Evelyn became the default babysitter, driving across town at dawn to watch them while Sarah worked as a real estate agent. As the kids grew, so did the expenses. Private school tuition, $20,000 a year for children, covered by Evelyn's little savings. Sarah's business trips, Tom's golf memberships, even their family vacation to Disney World, Evelyn chipped in, never complaining. "Family helps family," she'd say, quoting her father.
But the thank yous faded. Last Christmas, Evelyn had arrived with gifts: a dollhouse for Lily, a bike for Jack, and a spa voucher for Sarah. They opened them amid a pile of Amazon boxes, barely acknowledging her. "Thanks, Mom," Sarah said absently, already scrolling her phone. When Evelyn suggested a family game night, Tom rolled his eyes. "We're tired, Evelyn. Maybe next time." Then there was the incident last spring. Evelyn had overheard Sarah on the phone. "Mom's always around, like she has nothing better to do. I mean, she's sweet, but she's cramping our style." The words stung, but Evelyn brushed them off. Until now. In the attic, under the eaves where dust motes danced in the flashlight beam, Evelyn pulled out the boxes. Her father's books, hundreds of them, meticulously cataloged. First editions of Southern Gothic classics, rare poetry volumes from the Harlem Renaissance, even a leather-bound set of Mark Twain's works. Elias had collected them over a lifetime, buying from estate sales and auctions. "These are our fortune, Evie," he'd said. "Not just money, but stories that endure." Evelyn had never appraised them fully, but she knew their value. A quick online search months ago had hinted at over $500,000. She hadn't touched them, thinking they'd be a legacy for Sarah. But now? Now they were her ticket out. The next morning, Evelyn called an old friend, Margaret, a retired antiques dealer. "I need an appraisal," she said, her voice steady. Margaret arrived that afternoon, her eyes widening at the collection. "Evelyn, this is incredible. The Faulkner alone could fetch $50,000 at auction." By week's end, the appraisal came in, $550,000. Evelyn felt a rush of power she hadn't known since her youth. She contacted a reputable auction house in New York, arranging for the sale. Meanwhile, she researched beach houses in Savannah, close enough to Atlanta for visits, but far enough for freedom. She found a charming cottage on Tybee Island with ocean views and a wraparound porch for $300,000. The rest would fund her new life. But first, the ledger. Evelyn spent days compiling it. Every check, every wire transfer, every loan that was never repaid. $30,000 for the wedding, $80,000 for tuition over 4 years, $15,000 for Tom's car repair after a fender bender, $10,000 for Sarah's kitchen remodel. It totaled $175,000. She typed it up neatly, adding notes, given with love, received with indifference. The letter she wrote was harder. Dear Sarah and Tom, for years, I've been your safety net, but you've treated me like a burden. The Thanksgiving joke was the final insult. I've sold my father's book collection, yes, the one you never knew about, and I'm starting over in Savannah. Enclosed is a ledger of what I've given you. Repay me in respect or don't bother contacting me. The grandkids are welcome anytime, but you must earn back my trust. Love, Mom. She mailed it certified, then packed her bags. The auction went smoothly. The book sold for $520,000 after fees. Evelyn closed on the beach house a month later, her furniture shipped ahead. Savannah welcomed her like an old friend. The salt air invigorated her, and she wasted no time. With $200,000 from the sale, she established the Elias Harper Literacy Foundation, aimed at providing books and tutoring to underprivileged kids in coastal Georgia. She rented an office in the historic district, hired a young director, and began outreach. Books changed my life. Now they'll change others. The gala was her crowning achievement. 6 months after the move, on a balmy evening in May, the foundation hosted its first fundraiser at a waterfront venue. Community leaders attended, the mayor, school superintendents, even a state senator. Evelyn, in an elegant blue gown, stood at the podium. This foundation honors my father, who taught me that knowledge is the greatest inheritance. Tonight, we raise funds for children who deserve that chance. The event raised $50,000. As guests mingled, Evelyn's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Mom, we got your letter. We're sorry. Can we talk? Back in Atlanta, Sarah and Tom had opened the envelope in shock. The ledger laid bare their entitlement. How did we not know? Tom muttered. Lily, overhearing, asked, Is Grandma mad at us? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. We messed up, kids. Big time. Evelyn didn't respond immediately. She sipped champagne, watching the sunset over the Savannah River. For the first time, she felt truly seen, not as a matriarch to exploit, but as a woman with her own story to write. Months passed. Sarah visited, tentative at first, bringing the kids. They walked the beach, collecting shells, talking honestly. I took you for granted, Mom, Sarah admitted. I was wrong. Evelyn nodded, forgiving but firm. Love isn't a transaction, but respect is non-negotiable. The foundation thrived, partnering with schools and libraries. Evelyn mentored young readers, her days filled with purpose. She dated a kind widower from church, traveled to book festivals, and even wrote a memoir about her journey. In the end, Evelyn's secret fortune wasn't just the books. It was her resilience, her capacity for reinvention. She had built a legacy not for her family alone, but for herself and the world. And in that, she found the truest freedom.